You ever sign something thinking it's just a formality like a little neighborhood agreement? Harmless stuff, right? That's what I thought 5 years ago when I moved into Maple Grove Meadows, a suburb outside of Denton. Seemed perfect. Quiet streets, decent commute, nice enough neighbors who waved when you wheeled your trash out. There was an HOA, sure, but it felt like background noise. They had bake-offs and sent out watercolor newsletters. I figured, worst-case scenario, I'd get a letter about a missing fence board someday. Then Karen Simmons showed up. Karen was elected HOA president after old Mr. Wells stepped down for health reasons. He was a kind man who walked with a cane and smelled like pine soap. Karen? She marched into the first meeting with laminated binders, a Bluetooth headset, and the energy of a substitute teacher on her last nerve. Said her goal was restoring order to the neighborhood. I should have known then. First it was parking, then trash bin timing, then grass height. Next thing I know, I get fined because my mailbox was apparently leaning 5 degrees too far west. I argued it was gravy tie. She said it was grounds for a citation. Then came the real kicker sunlight reflection. Yep, she fined me because my upstairs window bounced sunlight into her dining room at 4:17 p.m. in July. Called it an optical hazard. I called it physics. I tried to reason. Sent emails. Included photos. Measured the sound of my HVAC unit after she said it was too loud. It's quieter than my fridge. Got nothing but vague responses and escalating fines. Due Law 200 became Due Law 400, then Due Law 600. One day I realized I was paying more to live in my own house than I'd paid monthly on my student loans. The neighbors? Most just shrugged. Some were scared. One told me his garden hose got slashed after he disputed a citation. Another found his mailbox filled with raw shrimp in August. So I kept a journal. Logged every notice, every inspection, every weird little threat slipped into my mailbox. Not out of paranoia, out of Sir V.Y. Val. It all came to a head when I listed the house for sale. 2 days later, Karen dropped off a sealed envelope herself. No postage. Just walked up, slid it in my box, and walked off like she was delivering a verdict. Inside was a bill. Not a noticia bill. Due Law 18,750. Labeled as a departure adjustment. Said I owed the HOA for administrative burdens caused by the sale. There were itemized lines, exit levy, property transfer tax, which, by the way, isn't a real thing in Texas, and my favorite community disruption fee. I laughed. Then I got angry. Then I called a lawyer. He said what I already knew. None of this was legal. But here's the thing, Karen had locked my property in their system, meaning no buyer could access neighborhood documents or amenity privy leases until the fee was paid. It was like she'd put my house in escrow prison. So I started packing anyway. Rented a month-to-month place across town. Told myself I'd ride this out and fight it properly. That's when I found Leo. Leo Klein. Retired state investigator. Used to work white-collar crime. Guy looked like a linebacker and talked like a librarian. I met him through a buddy. I showed Leo my journal, the letters, the Due Law 18,750 invoice. He read for 10 minutes, then leaned back and said, "She's cooking the books. Probably been at it a while." Leo worked fast. Dug up 2 sets of HOA books, one public, one password protected. The private one? Full of charges to a landscaping company owned by Karen's cousin. Fake maintenance calls. Phantom repairs. Overdue Law 200,000 funneled out in 4 years. He even traced a few transfers to a bank in the Caymans under a shell company called Briarwood Consultants. I filed with the county court. We asked for an emergency injunction. Leo sent everything to the DA's office. And 3 weeks later, Maple Grove Meadows HOA was officially under state investigation. The judge barred Karen from any HOA duties. Froze the accounts. Ordered a forensic audit. She retaliated, of course. Posted flyers with my face on them saying I was under investigation for fraud. Called CPS claiming I was Leah VY and kids unattended even though I don't have kids. The final straw? I caught her standing at the edge of my lawn at 2 a.m. Just staring at the house. Didn't say a word. Didn't have to. I installed cameras. Made a backup of every file. Duct taped a copy of the court order to my front door. Then the big one hit. Karen showed up on my driveway as I was loading the MOVing truck. Clipboard in hand. 2 HOA enforcers, guys who looked like they were rejected from security guard school, stood beside her. "You can't leave," she said. "Watch me," I said. "You owe this community." I handed her the court order. "I don't recognize this," she said. "It's not a religion," I told her. "You don't have to believe in it for it to be real." She called the cops. The officer took one look at the paperwork and told her to step back. That's when the county pulled up. DA's office. Arrest warrant in hand. Karen went full soap opera, screaming, crying, flailing. One of her muscle-bound buddies tried to flash a badge made out of laminate. He got face-planted. Karen was charged with embezzlement, fraud, and obstruction. Her bond? Denied. They weren't playing. 2 months later, the HOA was dissolved. My neighbors finally free-started their own association. One with actual transparency. They even sent me a fruit basket. Greg, from 3 houses down, gave me a wooden sign that read, "Neighborhood Menace No. 1. Best housewarming gift I've ever gotten." I took my settlement. Yep. The judge ordered the return of all my fines plus due law $175K for damages and bought a cabin outside of Granbury. No HOA. Just birds, trees, and a padlock I control. Sometimes I still think about Karen. About how someone can convince themselves their rights so long, they forget the law still exists. But mostly I think about what it means to push back, though, not let people like her win just because they expect you to fold. And let me tell you something else I learned: the system can work, but only if you force it to. Only if you keep records, demand accountability, and don't give up when it gets complicated or messy, or when someone like Karen tries to scare you silent. That cabin I bought. It's not much, but it's mine. And it's peaceful. The only sound at night is crickets and the rustle of wind through the trees. No patrol cars, no flyers taped to my truck, no laminated warning about fence height. A few months ago, I got a letter in the mail. Certified. Official stamp. My stomach dropped until I saw who it was: from the Attorney General's office. Turns out, Karen's case made state headlines. They wanted me to testify. Not just for her trial, but for a policy reform hearing. HOA oversight bills were being proposed in the state Senate. I went, sat in a polished wood chamber under those golden lights, and told them everything. Not just the story, but the human cost. The stress. The hours spent collecting evidence. The sleepless nights. The paranoia. The rage. And the fear that I might not win, that she'd get away with it. When I finished, one of the committee members leaned in and asked what advice I'd give someone in the same boat. I said, start writing everything down. Keep your receipts. And never assume laminated binders means someone knows what they're doing. They laughed, but I meant every word. It's been a year now. Karen's still behind bars awaiting trial. Her lawyers tried every trick, but the DA's office wouldn't let up. Turns out she wasn't just screwing over Maple Grove. There were 4 other HOAs involved. Same schemes. Same shell companies. I'm still in touch with Leo. He's helping a group in Arizona now. I told him he should start a business, something like HOA Justice League. He just grunted and said, "Too many Karens, not enough hours." He's not wrong. Anyway, if you're listening to this and thinking, that would never happen where I live, maybe not. Or maybe you've got your own Karen watching you from behind a curtain. All I'll say is, don't wait too long to push back. If you've ever dealt with an HOA nightmare, or just a petty tyrant in a cardigan, I want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. Hit like if you believe in fighting back. And don't forget to subscribe, because this isn't just a story about a house. It's about standing your ground when someone tries to fence you in. Thanks for listening. Stay loud. Stay smart. And above all, stay free.